Hey, welcome back everybody. Today we are talking about Rust Console Edition. That's right, we're just going to say the whole thing because it includes next gens now too and the old gens. And today we're talking about the roadmap. Is it real or is it fake? There's been a lot of information going around, a lot of just buzz going around all of this. And, you know, what do we get excited about? What don't we get excited about? We need some new content in this game. We love playing it. What's going on? So that's what this is going to be about today. I'm Jade Monkey. And yeah, let's just peel it back. Let's get into it. Let's do it. All right. So recently we talked about the unofficial official roadmap, which is essentially this bad boy. Whoops, is this bad boy right here? And there's been a lot of conversation in the Discord, or even just in the comments in general. It's just talking about, is this real? Is this not real? Some people denying it. Some people, you know what I mean? Like, what's really going on? What should we believe? So here's the thing: the Discord. I don't want to like be overtly negative or harp on this too much, but the Discord is not really a reliable source because it's run by just random internet clowns. They're not Double 11 employees. They don't get paid, and it seems to be kind of a toxic place too. They seem to be overtly negative about most things, and they don't have any information that anybody else has necessarily. They just seem to be just breeding a toxic environment. If you've been in there, you know what we're talking about. Anyway, so you can't really believe that. They're just angry people. But really, anybody with a Double 11 token next to their name, you can believe, or any official post that happened there, but anything else is kind of noise. But there has been conversation about, like, hey, is this real? Is this not real? So originally when we put this out, we got intel that said this came from a Microsoft post, and they pulled from the description. That turns out that's not accurate, but here's the thing. I think this is part of the NDA leak, and maybe that was used as a cover. And maybe there's some information inserted in here that's not completely accurate, but here's the thing. There was conversation with Pedro asking him, hey, is this real, is this not real? And he replied, some of it is, some of it isn't. So that's pretty much all we really need to know, because everything else we can kind of fill in, right? Like, my guess is the person that leaked this, and we don't know who leaked it, the thing is they maybe added a few lines in here, but for the most part, it looks like most of this is accurate. Or here's the thing. Since things are shifting over to the next-gen version, maybe some of these things will be added in later. Because, I mean, this game will still be fully developed like from month to month, as far as we understand it, after the next-gen conversion. We'll still be supporting the old-gen, but it looks like we'll still be getting these things. So, you know, maybe we get most of these line items. Maybe some are left out. Maybe this one maybe is left out. That's one that maybe sticks out to me, mostly because it doesn't kind of fit with the other ones, and that is DLC for Rust. And like the original Rust, their DLC is like under a different contract. I don't know. Maybe it is part of it. I kind of hope it is because I do like those skin sets for the buildings. But here's the thing. Here's really the breakdown, right? Because this is too on the nose for this to not be accurate. Plus, we already had Pedro kind of confirm it. Like unofficially confirm it. He's basically saying the list isn't accurate, but you know some of these things will be coming. I was like, okay, well, like we kind of figured that. So here's the big piece here, and I think a lot of people want to know this. By the way, if you didn't know, maybe let me cover this real fast for people that don't know. They did announce the next-gen version, and essentially what they're going to do is they're going to slow sunset the old versions. So at some point, we'll just call them core systems, will be kind of frozen in time with content, and then they'll just have like updates. Not content updates, but just updates after that. So they'll have servers, they'll have wipes and all that stuff. But if you want new content, it's all going to be pushed over to the next-gen consoles, which makes a lot of sense. And I think that was a Face Punch decision and a Double 11, but primarily Face Punch, you know, backed it. Because ultimately it's their decision, it's their IP, right? So that's what's going on. That's an official announcement. But here's the thing. You're probably like, I already own the game, so what's going on? And they did say, is this okay? Yeah, okay. So here's the question. This says, I already own a copy of Rust Console Edition. This is from Double 11. Says, will I need to purchase the next-gen version? So the answer is, we're currently working out the best ways to thank the existing Rust Console Edition players for their support through the years. Stay tuned, and we'll share more details about it next month. Good news is we'll know more about it next month, but this is corporate speak to say, we're going to charge, but we just don't know how much. And I think, because think about this, they're essentially, like I said, slow sunsetting the old version of the game. But because of that, they're going to have to sell a new version of the game, which is next gen. So if you don't own the game, it's probably going to be roughly a full price game, roughly, right? Like we don't know, but that's my guess. And then they'll most likely discount it for people that already own the game. So because of that, there'll need to be some reasons for people to jump over. Because if you have the old version now, you'll just be like, I'll just play that until the other game gets better. Well, they need a list of reasons why, right? essentially like when they sold the PTB package. They didn't sell you the PTB. They sold you other things that were enticing, and then they threw in the PTB. I think this is kind of the same situation. So because of that, this list makes a lot of sense. That's why I was like, somebody may have tweaked this list a little bit, but this is too on the nose. This looks roughly correct. You know what I mean? So maybe these containers are a real deal because they're selling it with the whole thing. That would be nice, because honestly, those skin sets are really, really, they're nice. I mean, dude, look, they're dope. Right? Like, I love the Brutalist skin. I love the Brick skin. I think it's the best. You know what I'm saying? That would be awesome if we got those, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, boy, yeah. Plus, they don't have to worry about troubleshooting or quality controlling on that stuff. Anyways, but here's the deal. Even if they leave out some of these things, let's say they don't have the revamp harbor or the missile silos right away, maybe that gets added in a few months down the road. Okay. Like, once we're converted over to the new version, we don't care, right? Because we're going to get a constant update, right? So here's another thought, too, and some people are asking this. Are they going to add more content? They might slip in some smaller content for the core versions before they set it in time or cement it or freeze it. But my expectation is that they're not going to do that. But if they do, it'll just be a nice little bonus. So anybody who's playing on the old systems has, you know, something to play with or whatever. At least it's still being supported. But check this out. This, too. Over here. I have to have the sound turned off. But they, what's just funny is the day we released the roadmap, they released this trailer. I don't know who saw it, but this is essentially the in-game version of the next gen. And we can see a lot of different stuff here, and it shows us quite a bit. It shows us that they're further along than we thought. We see the foam here, which is part of that physics system in the water. We can also see more dynamic lighting. There's some other changes here that need to be addressed or whatever. And we'll cover that in a separate thing, but we can see the lighthouse spinning over here, and if I have this already set up, you can see our lighthouse out here. See what I mean? That's rotating. But you can also see swells of the ocean here. Not swells, but the shoreline kind of stuff. And then if you go out further in the ocean, you see more of the ocean. And then like waves. And then as the storms come through, you start to see more choppy waves, which is really cool. But anyways, you start to see like, hey, just how beautiful this game is when you have the HDRP kind of stuff. I don't think they have it. Is it called HDRP? I don't think it's called HDRP anymore. Or maybe, okay, maybe they are still calling it HDRP in the light engine. But yeah, it looks beautiful. You'll kind of see how muddy the old version of the game looked, but it was essentially they took off a lot of those rendering layers for the older system to kind of take off some of that overhead because the resource pool is much smaller. So we set this back here, good to go. Okay, so for the most part, I would say just expect most of these big ticket items here because there needs to be a reason for us to spend the money on the next version. I don't think it's going to be a full price game for us. The question is what kind of discount. That's my expectation. That's my opinion, right? And hopefully we're going to find out in April, so we won't have to wait too long on that one. But for the most part, I think this is the real deal. And to be fair, I think most of this was going to be set over like cars and even helicopters. I think we're being slated to be on the old systems, and I think that changed. I mean, let's be real. I think this is a new change for them, roughly, because like think about it. August of last year, they had a different game plan. They're like, roadmap is this. We're going to hit this every month. Boom, boom, boom. And then they just kind of got quiet and things petered out. And it's been about 6 months. And I think this is what they were doing. So I think, yes, these were originally planned for the old one because the survey essentially said, do you want missile silos, cars, or helos? And like, I guess not enough people voted for those things, but they wouldn't have put that on the list to say, hey, we're going to bring it in unless they thought they could do it. Back then, they didn't know they were going to do a next-gen version. So I think what happened is once they got the word, they're like, okay, we'll just move these over because it's a lot easier because the old gens do, it's probably really hard to optimize these for the old gen. So I think that's why a lot of these are going to be shoveled in there. Or, I just want to put it out there. I don't know if this is real or not, but maybe they put some of them in for the old gens before they slow sunset it. But I wouldn't bank on that, but it is a possibility. But I would say because of the complexity of all these, they're probably just going to say, you know what, it's easier to kind of clump these over on the other side and let's just keep the old gens stable. That's probably more about what this is, more like what this is all about. My voice is starting to go again. But yeah, I think that's why. So essentially, maybe there's a few things on this list that don't come in, but the big stuff that counts is what matters. And fully expect to pay something for this at a discount. I'm expecting $20-$30 is my guess. It'd be sweet if it was like 10 or 15. I don't think it's going to be realistic to expect this to be free, but if it is, hey, we'll take it. You know, I know it's kind of a kick in the nuts for a lot of us that have paid full price and you know, supported the game many times over, especially as a content creator. But you know, I mean, we buy skins and stuff. But remember, it's not just Double 11 with their hand in the cookie jar. It's everybody. It's Sony, Microsoft, and then FacePunch because they own the IPs. So by the time the pie's done being cut up, there's not too much left over for them and the development team to keep running. So it makes sense that they would charge money for this. And honestly, seeing this list of like, hey, this is the convincing reason why you should pay money, it makes more sense. So yeah, fully expect all these things here. And even after all of these different videos and stuff came out, it pretty much lines up with this. So expect this and maybe a few items off there. But for the most part, it's for real. I think this was just the NDA leak. So yeah, that's what we have so far. As we start to get more information and talk about this, we'll start releasing more things. And yes, there are things like the shield. There are things like this primitive stuff. You kind of saw the battering ram there in the background. You know, raiding with things like these propane tanks will be a thing in the future. Now, I don't think this is coming in anytime soon, but now that we have next gen on the table, these things are definitely possible, and things will move a lot faster because we don't have the constrictions necessarily that the old systems did. Like I always said, the PlayStation and the Series X are big smelters. They can handle the new stuff. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with this game. I hope these updates come very quickly as we definitely need new content. I'm very excited for all of the stuff that's brewing, and we'll let you guys know when we do find out new stuff. And hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Love you. Bye. Oos, 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 oos. Ice cream vendor machine. Oh, jeez.